All right, now yesterday, Sark had his media availability, and we'll play some more Sark audio, but I want to play some of the audio from the players. JT Sanders spoke to the media, as well as Kelvin Banks, talking about two of the leaders on that offense, and the offense did have their struggles early on in the game, especially in that first half. First, we want to hear from JT Sanders. Now, I love how honest JT Sanders is, and he admits something here that I'm glad he admits to. He was talking about his touchdown in the second half and talking about the adjustments that Texas made in the second half to add some juice to the offense. But listen to the what he admits here in this piece of audio.
Oh yeah, for sure. We definitely needed that. You know, Rice came out there to play, and we wasn't executing to the best of our ability that first half. And you know, we was known as a can't finish in the second half team. So to come out in the second half and do what we did, score 3 drives back to back, it was a great feeling for us.
We're known as a can't finish in the second half team. Anybody pick up on that?
I did.
We known. So trust me, they know. They know what the narrative is. Yeah, we known as a can't finish in the second half team.
Is it a narrative or is it based on factual
evidence?
Oh,
no, yeah. That's like I say, once is an outlier. All right, 2 times, that's a bit of a pattern. 3 times is a bit of a trend. 4 or 5 times, we're talking about habitual. And that's what this team is kind of borderline on. They're bordering on this being habitual for them because last year they outscored their opponents by 179 points in the first 3 quarters combined. In the fourth quarter and in overtime combined, they were outscored by their opponents last season. And you pointed this out, E. And even versus Rice,
they were outscored in the fourth.
They were outscored in the fourth quarter,
7-0.
You had 5 losses last year, and I believe you failed to outscore your opponent, or you were outscored by your opponent in the fourth quarter and overtime in 4 of those 5 losses.
Yeah, so, and obviously the Texas had pulled, but again, this team needs to learn to play 4 quarters of football.
You got to play 4 quarters, baby.
And they had the back-to-back big penalties in the fourth quarter that prevented more scoring, and Rice did go on that 9-minute drive when they
kept the ball
and pretty much iced out the game and scored their only touchdown of the ball game.
So there you go. That's big. That's gonna be big. Trust me, if you're gonna beat Nick Saban, well, how many of those not upsets? I guess that most of them probably were upsets, but those home losses for Alabama, all of them were 1-score games, right?
Yeah, the 5 games I counted from 2008 combined losses were by 20 points, or you can combine them all.
Yeah,
I mean, you had a 1-point loss, 3-point loss, 5-point loss, 6-point loss. It's going to be inside a score.
It's
going to win the game.
It's going to be a fourth quarter game. Yep. You're going to go win it in the fourth quarter. You're going to go take it from Bama in the fourth quarter at home.
And a couple things have to happen. You have to weather what's going to be an early storm because you know it will be. And you got to be ready to play 4 quarters in 3 phases. I mean, all 3 phases have to play 4 quarters. That's what Nick Saban teams have shown over time. If you let down in any phase for even a half a quarter, they're going to take advantage of you. Block a punt, return a kick, take a pick 6, fumble to the house. Every phase has to be on point, and that's. I don't know if this is one of Alabama's and Nick Saban's best teams. Might not be.
I don't think so.
But you still have to go beat it. You still have to go beat them.
You got to go take it from them. Yeah, and we saw that here versus Alabama. Man, you were at that game.
Yeah,
but you couldn't play 4 quarters, and they made plays in the fourth quarter that Texas did not. Okay, so one of the big stories, I love that line from JT Sanders. Yeah, we're known as a can't finish in the second half team. Hey, you know what? I love the reality, though. Let's be real.
You can change that opinion.
Yes, you can change that. Let's, stop being polite and let's start getting real. That's what we're known as, a team that can't finish in the fourth quarter. That's not a 4-quarter team, not a fourth quarter team. Let's change that this season. They're going to have to if they're going to be a championship caliber team. All right, let's hear from Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks was asked in his media availability, of course, about the struggles of the offensive line, of course. And they had their struggles versus Rice, and they had some issues picking up a lot of these simulated pressures that we talked about, some of the twists and stunts. Here is Kelvin Banks. Got 2 cuts from Kelvin Banks here, but here's the first cut. I'm talking about what may have been the difference and what may be the difference in Texas improving from week 1 to week 2 with offensive line play.
Our main goal was communication. I feel like once we get our communication together and make sure that every guy's on the same page, I feel like the pass pro will handle itself. Because if you have good communication with God next to you, everything's going to fall in place.
Okay. All right. So bad communication in the game versus Rice. And remember, basically what I told you is it doesn't necessarily matter about the concept now. Now we know what the weakness for Texas offensive line is. The blueprint is out. It's out there. The scouting report is out there. You just need to force them to communicate post-snap. You need to force them to have to communicate post-snap and force them to have to pass off defenders post-snap. If you can do that in every way you want to do it, Rice did it with twists and stunts, simulated pressures, and amoeba fronts, something that I've been pointing out for the last 6 to 7 months. So I know Texas knows about it because I was telling you guys about it. All right. And in the Baylor game was exposed in the Baylor game in the pressure packages from Dave Aranda. And Rice also added blitzing from the second level and then incorporating that with twists and stunts, but still same thing that you're trying to expose, right? The same liability, the same weakness, which is make them communicate post-snap, make them pass off defenders post-snap. If you do that, Texas offensive line will struggle.
Yeah.
That's the blueprint right there.
Well, and I will say this. If Texas can tighten that up this week to what you said, and now that they've seen it again on film here and tighten it up, Quinn Ewers was good against the blitz last week. I mean, because if you're bringing extra people, he burned the blitz last week, which, again, that for me with Quinn Ewers, when he can just react and he doesn't have to read defenses, read coverages, just knows he has single coverage somewhere, he can make those throws. And his numbers against Rice's blitz, when they protected him, were pretty damn good last week.
Yep. Just to give you those, he was 11 of 14 versus the blitz versus Rice.
Yeah,
which is that's really good numbers for him.
Yeah,
and so it does show you that when he was forced to accelerate his clock and speed up his internal clock, and he knew that he would be under pressure, he responded really well.
Yep.
And 11 of 14 for, I think, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns, according to Pro Football Focus versus the blitz. But that's the point of the simulated pressure. Because what's a simulated pressure? It looks like a blitz, smells like a blitz, walks like a blitz, talks like a blitz. It looks like a blitz. Everything. Everybody thinks it's a blitz, but it ain't. It's a simulated pressure, which you're only sending 4 guys. A blitz to me officially is 5 or more. So you're sending 4, you're sending 3. It just looks like a blitz, but the offensive line has no idea which 3 or which 4 you're sending and which 3 and which 4 you're dropping. And that's the challenge for the Texas O-line. Another cut here from Kelvin Banks talking about the offensive line and how they did not play up to their standard.
Just make sure we're louder. For instance, it's gonna be a nice crowd in Alabama. So just having that atmosphere and making sure we're being able to communicate down the line, not just to tackle to tackle, but also to tackle the tight end or tackle to receiver or whoever we need to communicate with.
Why was the communication not what you guys wanted it to be against Rice? Can you get into the specifics?
Oh, I feel like there's no Pacific. I feel like we just as a unit, we didn't communicate well. I feel like that's just it. Like we just didn't go out and play football like we did in practice.
Okay. So he's saying they know exactly what they need to do to fix it, which is communicate. But guys, think about this. It is communication. There is some of that. But once that ball is snapped, guys, that is an unspoken communication.
Yes, it is.
There's this, all there is that everybody understands and knows what the roles and responsibilities are. But if you're yelling and screaming about a player that's running a twist or a stunt, it's not very likely the offensive lineman, the tackle or the guard's going to hear you from the other side of the old line.
No. All
right. So what that communication they're talking about, it is unspoken. It is what Babyface called whip appeal, right? You and your wife probably do it all the time, because y'all been together so damn long, right? You guys can almost finish each other's thoughts, know what each other's thinking in different situations. That's why the offensive line works together as a unit. That's why more so than any other group, and they are considered a unit. We don't even take individuals from the O-line and talk about them. We talk about them as a group because they do have to have that unspoken bond that really does connect them and allows them to communicate, like we said, but not necessarily, a vocal communication.
All right, coming back, we'll go off the record. Great stuff with Rod Babers behind the BOC. We'll have it all week long, getting ready for Texas and Alabama and the huge matchup there in Tuscaloosa.